A mother drops her children off at daycare on a Friday morning. By lunchtime, she has vanished. Her phone is silent. Her car is still there. And the last person known to have seen her alive is the father of her children. For 69 days, a Minnesota community searched fields, forests, and back roads looking for answers. When those answers finally came, they would expose a story prosecutors say was fueled by control, fear, and a relationship that was coming to an end. Welcome to Behind the Yellow Tape. I'm Mimi, and here we share some of the most spine-chilling, gut-stirring, mysterious crime stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. So if mystery and crime is your cup of tea, then you'll definitely get your fill here. We upload every Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you love a midweek dose of suspense, whether from your favorite seat, the car, before bed, or during your favorite activity, then leave a like to help build the algorithm. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. Now, let's take a step behind the yellow tape. March 31st, 2023. A chilly Friday morning in southeastern Minnesota. For most people in the small city of Winona, it was a day like any other. Parents rushed children to school, businesses opened their doors, and traffic moved through town. And 26-year-old mother of two, Madeline Kingsbury, appeared to be going about her normal routine. But by the end of that day, Madeline would be gone. No goodbye, no warning, no trace. And what began as a missing person case would soon become one of Minnesota's most heartbreaking murder investigations. This is the story of Madeline Kingsbury. Madeline was known as a devoted mother. Friends described her as caring, dependable, and deeply committed to her two young children. She lived in Winona with her children and the children's father, Adam Fravel. To outsiders, they appeared to be a family. But behind closed doors, their relationship was reportedly falling apart. According to court testimony, Madeline had been making plans to leave. She was preparing for a different future. A future that prosecutors would later argue someone else desperately wanted to prevent. On the morning of March 31st, Madeline and Adam loaded their children into the family van. The children were dropped off at daycare. It was one of the last confirmed moments in which Madeline was seen alive. After returning home, something happened. Exactly what occurred inside that residence remains known only to one person. But investigators would later tell a jury that Madeline never walked out of that house again. Hours passed. Madeline failed to arrive at work. That was unusual. Then came an even bigger red flag. She never picked the children up from school. For a mother known to prioritize her kids above everything else, that simply didn't make sense. Friends called, family members texted. There was no answer, response, or any activity. The silence was deafening. A concern turned into panic. Loved ones contacted law enforcement. A missing person investigation began. At first, there was hope. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she had suffered a medical emergency. Maybe there was an innocent explanation. But as investigators dug deeper, those possibilities began to disappear. The search for Madeline grew quickly. Volunteers arrived from across the region. Search teams combed through woods, fields, roadways, even waterways. Helicopters scanned from above. Search dogs worked tirelessly. Every day without answers intensified the fear. Community members placed flyers everywhere. Her photograph appeared on television broadcast. Social media exploded with posts sharing her story. People wanted answers. Where was Madeline? And why had she vanished without a trace? As the investigation expanded, detectives focused on the people closest to her. One name immediately drew attention: Adam Fravel, the father of her children, the last known adult to see her alive. Investigators began assembling a timeline, piece by piece and minute by minute. What they found raised serious questions. Prosecutors would later argue that evidence showed Adam's movements that day were unusual. Authorities examined surveillance footage, digital records, vehicle activity, phone data, and witness statements. Each clue added another piece to a growing puzzle. Meanwhile, Madeline remained missing. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Her family endured a nightmare that seemed to have no ending, but investigators continued working, following leads, executing search warrants, and building a case. Then, after more than 2 months, everything changed. June 7th, 2023. 69 days after Madeline disappeared, searchers made a devastating discovery. Human remains were located in a remote wooded area. The location was near property connected to Adam Fravel's family. Soon, the worst fears were confirmed. The remains belonged to Madeline Kingsbury. The search was over, but the murder investigation was just beginning. For her family, there was finally an answer, but it was the answer nobody wanted: that Madeline wasn't coming home. Prosecutors alleged that Madeline's death was not random. It was not an accident. It was a murder. Their theory centered on a relationship that had reached its breaking point. According to prosecutors, Madeline intended to leave, and that decision created conflict. Investigators spent months gathering evidence. They interviewed witnesses, analyzed electronic data, and reviewed surveillance footage. They even reconstructed events surrounding the morning Madeline disappeared. The case moved towards trial, and all eyes turned to the courtroom. The trial captivated Minnesota. Jurors heard weeks of testimony. Witnesses described the final days leading up to Madeline's disappearance. Experts discussed forensic evidence. Investigators outlined the timeline they believed pointed to a single conclusion. The prosecution argued that Adam Fravel killed Madeline and concealed her body. The defense challenged aspects of the state's case and maintained that the prosecution had not proven guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. As testimony concluded, the case was placed in the hands of 12 jurors. The future of the accused now rested on their decision. The courtroom was silent. Family members waited. Reporters watched. Jurors filed into the room. Then came the words everyone had been waiting to hear: guilty. Adam Fravel was convicted of murder in the death of Madeline Kingsbury. For Madeline's family, the verdict brought a measure of justice. But justice does not erase grief. It does not restore birthdays missed, or holidays lost, or the future that was stolen. In December 2024, Fravel received a sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. The legal proceedings may continue through appeals, but the conviction marked the end of a long and painful chapter. A chapter that began with a missing mother and ended with a murder conviction. Cases like these leave difficult questions behind, questions about relationships, control, warning signs, and the hidden struggles that can exist behind closed doors. For many people, Madeline Kingsbury became more than a headline. She became a reminder of the importance of checking on loved ones, of taking concerns seriously, and of the communities that come together when someone disappears. Thousands search for Madeline. Thousands hope. And while they could not bring her home alive, they ensured she would not be forgotten. Madeline Kingsbury was 26 years old. She was a daughter, a friend, a mother, and her story continues to be remembered by those who loved her. If you enjoyed this episode, follow Behind the Yellow Tape on all platforms and join us next week at 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as we explore another case that left an entire community searching for answers. Until then, I'm Mimi. Stay safe and cautious, and this has been A Step Behind the Yellow Tape.